What's going on, FA Nation? Welcome back. Dan Malin here, joined as always by James Grande. We are recapping Week 14. For me, it was okay. It was fine. DFS, I got up to a huge $14,000 profit early on because I had Chico Conquo. I felt really good about Derrick Henry going off early on, and then I don't know. The Titans just kind of stalled. I still had a profitable week, but came just short of the commas. Was looking forward to a comma weekend. Wasn't the case, but still profitable and season long. Went okay. I had a couple bye weeks already locked up, so I wasn't, stressing that too much. But how was your week 14, Grande? Enough about me.
Um, I I messaged our
You
very own
sound
John.
so tired, dude.
Yeah, very tired. I messaged our own John and Pembo a little before the slate. He sent me his lineups, and all my response was, I'm not playing DFS this week because I don't want to lose twice. I don't want to lose my money, and I don't want to also look at the scoreboard of the Giants game and just know that I'm having a terrible Sunday. So I chose not to play DFS. It was the right decision because the Giants got mollywopped. They weren't even competitive from the start of that game. So I had a stress-free DFS weekend, seasonal. I'm not having the best time this year. Still fourth in the Raz Bowl for what that's worth. So that is about the only thing I have going for myself right now in seasonal Dan. It was another week of stressful football for me because the Giants are just falling off the cliff, right? So really I don't know how to exactly respond because it was good, but it was also sad to see now that it's a must-win game against the Washington football team. That's what I'm calling this week's left hand up. No, we are not. We're the Crap Manders. That's the new song. I don't know if you've heard that song. Left hand up. Who are we? The Commanders. If you haven't, it's a banger. But this week they're the crap.
What you're talking about.
It's okay. This is the tired intro ramble. But all in all, week 14, tough week for injuries, Dan. Tough week for injuries.
Well, that seems like the perfect segue because we are recording this Monday night during the Monday Night Football game between the Patriots and Cardinals. About 10 minutes ago, Kyler Murray was carted off. We saw the replays as we were getting set up. Non-contact knee injury, those never go well in the NFL. Gotta assume it's going to be a lengthy stay out of action for him. Potential IR, potentially season ending as well if it's an ACL. Overall, what's the immediate impact and how much do we downgrade? Let's say DeAndre Hopkins, James Conner, Marquise Brown, basically anybody useful in the Arizona offense for fantasy purposes.
I mean, it's tough. First and foremost, I hope Kyler gets well soon, and I hope it's not serious for his sake, right? I hope.
For what it's worth, they did rule him questionable to return, but I feel like that's just
right.
a formality. It's pretty clear he's not going to come back.
Right.
Looking for a full recovery.
Right. Hopefully it's a full recovery. Now, in terms of the weapons, the first game Colt McCoy started this year, that was D-Hop was there, so was Rondell Moore. D-Hop had 14 targets, 10 receptions for 98 yards. Rondell Moore had 13 targets. James Conner had 2 touchdowns in that game. Safe to say, Colt McCoy finds his favorite targets and will feature them in the offense. So I don't think we're going to see much of a drop-off from D-Hop and as an ESPN ad just completely, you ever listen to when you open up ESPN and those ads just black? Gotta turn on.
Oh, dude, when we record this podcast and I'm trying to look at box scores, scoring plays on ESPN, and it's just bam with the music, and then they jump right into a highlight, and I'm like, God damn it, I gotta mute this. No one else can hear it, but it's just in my head, I'm trying to listen to you and find the mute button for these videos. But go on, I apologize for interrupting.
No,
But it's very relatable if you're a podcaster.
Oh my God. It's just, and especially when you're trying to focus on what you're saying too. And then you have Mike Greenberg talking in the background, shout out to Greenberg. You have a lot of good to say, but anyways, the other game, Colt McCoy started 12. D-Hop has 26 targets in the 2 games Colt McCoy has started. Greg Dortch has a 9 reception for 103-yard game with Colt McCoy.
Do you take that with a grain of salt? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying go out, but I'm saying that both weeks that Colt McCoy started, there were 2 viable receivers in the Arizona offense. I think that will remain as long as Marquise Brown and D-Hop are on the field. So I don't think we see much of a drop-off there. James Conner, I don't think we see much of a drop-off there. I mean, they released Eno Benjamin to just feature James Conner and nothing but James Conner, and that's just kind of what's happened. So, yeah, I don't think we actually see much of a drop-off. And no, I do not think Colt McCoy is very viable on the waiver wire, especially considering we're heading into the fantasy playoffs.
What about 2 quarterback or super flex leagues? Obviously, he's got to have some appeal over there, right? Because especially just with what, Lamar Jackson's still on the shelf. Tyler Huntley, suffered a concussion, I believe, and I'd be stunned if he played this week.
Yeah, he's officially in concussion protocol this week. I mean, I guess it depends. So I bet there's a lot of
Russell Wilson also in concussion protocols.
Russell Wilson, Huntley, Kenny Pickett is placed in concussion protocol. Mike White took those. I mean,
he took a beating against the Bills.
His body is possibly broken in half today. I don't know how, if he might be in a wheelchair for all we know at this point. I don't know who. Let's see. I'm trying to look at the waiver wire right now to see. Would you play, if you were in a 2 quarterback league, Brock Purdy or
Colt McCoy?
Or Colt McCoy?
That's going to come down to the matchups.
Purdy has the Seahawks.
I would probably go. Damn. I really don't like playing Thursday night games. I would probably go with McCoy, just because it's going to be a short week for McCoy and the Cardinals either way. But I can't play a quarterback on Thursday Night Football. I just don't feel great about that ever.
He's probably in the top 24, but it's not like a comfortable feeling. There's no one on a bye, right? So all 32 teams will be in action.
3 games slate on Saturday.
3 games slate on Saturday. Very interesting. And the NFL is trying to take over Christmas. Very annoying as an NBA guy as well. But Colt McCoy has low and QB2 appeal in Superflex and 2 quarterback leagues.
All right, moving on to another injury again. Hoping the best for Kyler Murray. Deebo Samuel sprains his MCL and his ankle.
Yeah, brutal.
Likely to return. Was that?
Brutal. Just brutal.
Yeah. Likely to return before the end of the regular season. Highly likely that he's going to be out multiple weeks, especially weeks 14 and 15. Who does this benefit most in the San Francisco offense? I don't think this impacts Christian McCaffrey at all. I think this really benefits Kittle and Aiyuk a little bit, maybe even someone like Juwan Jennings. But who do you like the most coming forth or possibly emerging from the San Francisco 49ers?
First off, I don't think we're going to see Deebo in the regular season because the timeline for high ankle sprains are usually 3 to 6 weeks, and 3 being the low end. So if he does have a high ankle sprain, I just don't see him coming back before the regular season. What happens if San Francisco's clinched? What happens if they win out, right? Let's say they win out week 18 and we still haven't seen Deebo, and they can't move up or down in the standings, right? Let's say Philly's already the 1 seed, presumably at that point, right? They have 3 losses and Philly's 11-1. So what's the? I think it's a tough to assume he's going to be back just given the timeline. San Francisco has 4 losses, so Minnesota has 3. So San Francisco, as it currently stands, could be the 2 seed, right? Unless Philly collapsed and Dallas won out and Dallas wins the division. But no, even then, they would need a lot to be the 1 seed. My point is the high ankle sprain injury timeline doesn't really correlate with what San Francisco's saying. And we've seen it all year. Jerry Jeudy had a mild sprain that was going to cause him to be day-to-day, and then he missed 3 weeks. And now Cortland Sutton had a mild injury. He's like, these high ankle sprains are longer absences than we're led to believe. So I don't think we see Debo. Who it helps, I think you're 100% right. I think McCaffrey is like the RB1 moving forward, like just the RB1. We saw his workload. We saw his ability to catch passes, all that. Juwan Jennings ran 15 routes on 26 dropbacks yesterday. Aiyuk ran 25. Kittle ran 25. You have to immediately go to Aiyuk and Kittle. It's something Sells was it me and you last week, or was it Sells and I last week?
It was me and you.
We were talking about the Aiyuk thing, how Brock Purdy's ADOT was so bad.
I actually didn't love it because the ADOT was, yeah.
But Purdy proved that he could drive the ball. It's not something that you were wrong about, because he did average 5 yards a throw in week 1. But he did then turn around and drive the ball to Aiyuk while he's getting just smashed. So I think Aiyuk and Kittle are the clear-cut options. Like, Juwan Jennings doesn't profile as like a seasonal pickup, just probably more as a DFS darling, if anything.
All right, moving on. We have some other. We're going to mostly focus on. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but the last 2 topics of conversation are kind of negative. But one positive note was that Evan Ingram had himself an absolutely phenomenal day. I was not expecting it. I thought he was going to have that kind of game in week 13. But, found the end zone week 13, comes back, finds it again twice in week 14 against the Titans. 11 catches on 15 targets for 162 yards. Unreal. He's now a top 5 tight end, which says a lot about the position. I saw a stat like a week or 2 ago that Darren Waller just needed to catch like 3 passes and he would be once again the top 5 tight end. That's just how crappy this position is.
Yep.
But Evan Ingram, the Jaguars look pretty good. I said last week I wasn't going to buy into the Jaguars I'm definitely not buying into the Jaguars this week, because they do this all the time. They look great.
Literally
they go flat. I'm not buying into this BS narrative. I'm giving them no attention in DFS. I'm not letting it happen to me again. But Evan Ingram looked great. Got fed this past week. Is he a must-start tight end going forward?
That is so funny.
Very tough schedule.
Now I remember it was me and you. Now I remember the full conversation of our podcast last week about the Jaguars. About the Jaguars.
Because they do this, and then you think, oh, they could win the division.
Yep.
Then they can't.
Yep, that was the talk all today, how they can win the division. I mean, look, what do we know about Evan Ingram? He is going to be on the field for essentially all the snaps. I mean, if you look back, great. I mean, that's the profile, right? He's a great athlete. He runs
He's a wide receiver that plays tight end.
Yeah, he runs good routes. He's faster than linebackers, faster than safeties. And he's always on the field. 79% of snaps this week, 77 last week, 81 the week before the bye, 88 the week prior to the bye. Only 55 against Las Vegas, but that was the ankle injury game. But 93 against Denver, 85. Like, he's just always on the field. He has a lot of big target games. I mean, so Evan Ingram's played 13 games this year. He's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games of 6 or more targets this year. Like, you just don't see that at the tight end position. And I don't know if Travis Etienne's hit a wall or if teams are just making Trevor Lawrence beat them. But he's looked horrible, and it's led to Trevor Lawrence throwing the ball more. And Ingram,
I think it's maybe the foot injury.
Yeah, it could be the foot injury. It could just be not used to playing a 18-game season, right? It's his first professional year after missing all of last year. With now there's a foot. Like, there's a lot of factors that could only lead to, that only screams more passing for Jacksonville moving forward. I think you have to treat him as I don't know if you have to treat him as a top 5 tight end. I know he is there, and that's largely part to 162 yards, 11 receptions, and 2 scores. But he's been a lot more consistent than I think people want to give him credit for, myself included, as an noted. I mean, listen, just he came from the Giants. He was a letdown, right? It's just natural for me to be disappointed in him. But I can't deny how good he's been. I can't deny that he's a top 10 tight end, probably top 7 weekly. Every tight end is healthy, right? Or like Dallas Goedert is expected to come off IR this week. Same with Darren Waller. So I think when you're looking at the landscape of tight ends, like you have the untouchables, Kelsey, Andrews. I know Andrews hasn't been great. You have Kittle now without Debo. You have Goddard, who was great before the injury. You have Waller, who, it can be great. And then you probably have Njoku and then Evan Ingram. So like top 7 to 10 tight end weekly. But yeah, I think he's a must start in 12-team leagues especially.
Speaking of Njoku and the rest of those brownies, concerns in Cleveland? Any at all? Second straight game since returning from suspension to Deshaun Watson. He threw for 276 yards, touchdown, interception. Donovan Peoples-Jones and Njoku, who you just spoke about, played well, while Amari Cooper, who was a little beat up, and Nick Chubb both struggled. Are there any concerns going forward regarding, the Brownies, like more prominent, like star players? Because this hasn't looked good, and they have the Ravens and Saints over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would, and I said it last week, like I wasn't overly concerned, but I think everyone is aware that like there could be some type of like connection issue with guys that you just haven't played with, and he just hasn't been able to develop a rapport. And now you need them to develop that rapport quickly because you're falling out of the playoff picture, basically out of it. I mean, you're all but eliminated now, right? I don't think they're officially eliminated. I think only the Texans.
5-8.
Yeah, I think they're 4-9, 4-8. If you might be correct. Yeah, 5-8, whatever. So like not mathematically eliminated, but we're getting near that time. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely concerned. Like Watson didn't look good, but the numbers were still fine. Like because the quarterback position once again just was not it. And I think
he also rushed for 30 yards too. So I think he had like 16.3 fantasy points or something, which for the quarterback position still it's not good.
But this year, I mean, 16. I mean, if you don't have the top 6 guys, 16 fantasy points is a win at the quarterback position. I mean, it is. It's just like if you're weekly starting Aaron Rodgers, you're weekly starting Tom Brady, or weekly starting Jared Goff before the last couple weeks, like 16 fantasy points, that's a win. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely concerned. I definitely think there's a regression to Donovan Peoples-Jones if Amari Cooper is healthy. I think we might see more than 7 targets. I'm definitely worried about Nick Chubb because Nick Chubb hasn't looked the same in the last just couple weeks in general. I mean, 80 yards, no touchdown last week. If he's not scoring touchdowns, Nick Chubb's value is drastically different because he doesn't catch the football. So.
Let's turn our attention to another team that's kind of been disappointing lately. I'm a little concerned about the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
Not so much with Tyreek Hill. There's a good floor with him every week. There's an outrageous ceiling every week. You're not sitting him regardless of the matchup, even this week, which we will get to. But Jalen Waddle has just 3 catches on 9 targets in his last 2 games. I mean, I feel like I gave a lot of bad advice in the Fantasy Alarm Discord this week, but I did get a couple questions on Jalen Waddle, and I'm like, I can't believe we're actually asking about this guy. But after what we've seen the last 2 games, yeah, I'm a little concerned. Tua Tagovailoa has completed just 28 of 61 passes in his last 2 games with 3 turnovers. I don't feel good about either running back in this offense. You can't really start either as it currently sits. And this week, the Dolphins are on that 3-game slate that we mentioned earlier in the podcast. The early forecast for this game, Saturday night in Western New York. It's going to be in the 20s. Wind chill of, the wind gusts are going to be 10 to 20 miles an hour, so that's going to knock it down a little bit. There's also going to be some snow showers in the game as well. Are you comfortable starting anybody on this team outside of Tyreek Hill? Like, are we still starting Tua Tagovailoa? Divisional game, but still, like, this could be ugly.
Yeah, I mean, I think the over-under at last was like 43-2, and I'm sure like as the as the weather reports come in, right?
Sorry, man. Ramondre Stevenson is down, and my heart is in my throat.
Oh no.
Ugh.
Oh no. Carted off down or?
I think somebody rolled up on his ankle.
That's bad.
He's still down. I am defeated. Well, everybody, that's the show. Go on. Sorry.
No, I mean, that's obviously notable. No Damian Harris. No.
Come for the nonsensical fantasy analysis, but stick around for our emotional reactions to the
game. during Monday Night Football, right?
We'll break NBA start sits as well.
Yeah, yes, we did last week. You did live. I think it was Indiana Pacer news live. The riveting stuff. Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to be concerned. The running back situation last week with a healthy Jeff Wilson, all Mostert. And then this week, Mostert looked like crap. He just doesn't look healthy since they like gave him that game off with the knee management. And I thought it was smart what they were doing because he was already approaching his career high in rushing attempts in like week 11. But now we're there, and Mostert has clearly slowed down. Wilson's injured again, and Jeff Wilson is just oft injured throughout his career. They said Mike McDaniel said day to day, but like obviously a concern for a guy who's always injured. What do we got, Dan? Ramondre is he being carted off?
He ran off, but Max just threw a pick. It looked like it was tipped. Straight in the air.
If you guys could only see the video of Dan chugging
it's a liquid death. It's not alcohol.
It's a Coors. What is it?
Coors? No, it's not. I only drink during NASCAR podcasts.
Okay, sorry. My apologies. Yeah, I mean, you got to be concerned. It's Tyreek Hill or it's bust right now. I think it really depends on like the options you have instead of Tua Tagovailoa, because again, we talked about ad nauseum. Not a lot on the waiver wire. Like if I have Tua or Brock Purdy, I'm starting Tua. If I have Tua or Colt McCoy, I'm starting Tua. If I have Tua or Mike White, I'm starting Tua. Tua over Baker Mayfield. Tua over Taylor Heineke. I bet you a lot of people dropped Aaron Rodgers in this bye week, right? Probably still starting Tua over Aaron Rodgers. So tough to bench Tua, but there's definitely concerns.
Do you think there's any chance of this game Saturday night in the snow, cold weather, relatively high winds? Do you think that there's any chance that this could be a shootout?
No.
That was quick.
Yeah, no. I mean, like, I think that if both running games are on, like, we've seen Josh Allen in the snow, like, just ball and, like, have multiple rushing touchdowns. 42.5. I bet you by the time Saturday comes around, the total's sitting around 40. And I just don't see it. I
can see it.
Well, you could see it?
No. I'm saying I can see this being bet down to 40.
Yeah, it's going to be bet. I think the under, a lot of people don't bet unders, but like just when the weather report comes out of how bad it's going to be, it's going to be hard to ignore.
Well, folks, apologies for this podcast being a little all over the place with reactions right away to Kyler Murray's injury, Ramondre Stevenson, Mac Jones throwing an awful interception, but really it was tipped. But hey, thank you so much for listening again this week, everybody. Best of luck in your fantasy football playoff matchups in Week 15. Play a little DFS on Saturday. I'll be in the NFL Discord starting at noon, going all the way until 8 p.m. But Grande, I know you're tired, so thank you so much for your time. Best of luck to you in Week 15, and best of luck to the FA Nation.